Hello, today I want to talk about emotions and why they're not good for you, okay? Now that sounds odd, but I have to say that there is you have to be able to think outside the box. We all know that people who are too emotional, we know that that's not good. Now, admittedly, see, on the lower level, it's you could say it's better to have a positive emotion than a negative emotion, okay? But see, even positive emotions are stress. There's a famous they used to do a lot of studies on stress, and they still do, but some of the landmark groundbreaking studies were done, I don't know, in the 50s and 60s, and maybe the 70s. But I don't know if you remember or not, but they had a list of the most stressful life events, remember? And one of them was like getting fired. Another one was moving to a new city or something like that. But do you remember that the most stressful life events included something like getting married? Okay, why? Because of the excitement is also the responding with excitement. It's also a stress. You know how going on a vacation can be a stress? You would think that going on vacation would be to relax, and sometimes it is, but it can also be very stressful. Okay, so you get the idea. Going to a football game, you yell and scream. It can be stressful. The next day afterwards, you feel terrible. Or you have a headache or something, or you're all drained and tired. See? Okay, so you got the idea. So you mustn't think of emotions as just even of positive emotions as necessarily a good thing. Now, the easiest way for me to say it, and looking at it now, getting the big picture, standing back and getting the big picture, okay? Christ said to lay down the sensual life. He didn't say sensual, but he meant to lay down the sensual, the ego life. In other words, the life of getting excited and getting bummed out, of getting a high and then a low, of getting angry and getting hurt feelings, and see, this life of passions and unhappiness and emotional excess. And reactive, overly reacting to things. The ego life of challenge, of tease and being challenged and then accepting the challenge and struggling and winning and losing and putting others down and being put down. That life, he said, you have to lay that life down and pick up the spiritual life. Okay? He also said that no man or no person can serve two masters. So I want to tie those ideas together. And then in the Old Testament, God often asked the people to turn from their wicked ways. Is one famous passage. He said, if you turn from your wicked ways and return to me, turn back to me, see, then I will heal your land and good things will happen. So turning, okay? Turning is very significant. You know, if somebody turns their back on you, walks away, that means something, doesn't it? Okay, so now putting all those together, here's a little primer, a little brief introduction to stress, okay? What emotion, see, emotion galvanizes the whole body. See, if the person is taken in by something or fixated on something or getting involved with something, or being wooed by something and seduced by something, or bothered by something, okay? In other words, something is getting to you somehow or other. Then what the emotions do is they galvanize the whole body toward that, see? Toward that thing which has become important, probably too important. So the whole body and the whole mind. So if you're fixated on something, focused on it, concentrating on it, and then you begin to have emotions. See? Either love or hate. That's the basic appeal to the ego, but it could be anything. It could be fear, it could be excitement, it could be lust, it could be greed, it could be nervous, it could be any emotion whatsoever. Then what that does is that emotion spreads through the body, and it makes the whole body, see, lined up. Everything is lined up. All the cells are lined up now because of this emotion, and they're all working together for something or other. See? To run, to grab, to take, to something or other. And often the goals are involved too. If there's a goal and the person gets some emotion, some emotional arousal or uprush for that goal, then that galvanizes the body in that direction. Okay, now here's what you have to see. And that is that the soul is a creature of belief. See? Now the soul is supposed to be closer to God, in rapport with God. See? With God as its source and looking unto God within. Okay? And if there's any emotions at all, it should be for God. Okay? Somebody once said you could take all the love songs, every time you hear some kind of most songs are love songs anyway, every time you hear one, just think of just imagine the person is singing it to God. Okay? Then it would actually be better. Okay? But what happens is when you are oriented towards something else by emotions, the emotions and the mental focus or concentration or attention orient the whole mind and body toward the other. And then by default, in a very subtle way, within, you are turned to the outer. You are turned to the outer. And that's why when you become emotional, you become suggestible. See? That's why if you begin to have feelings for somebody, then you become suggestible. Even if you're angry, you become suggestible. Because the soul is a creature, the mind, see, is supposed to be influenced, supposed to be close to God, and believe in what it is given to know within wordlessly. You know, they call that intuition from God. It's intuition. It's a hunch. It's insight. It's an inner revelation. Okay, that's where you should be looking for answers. Okay, but when you have turned, maybe you didn't want to, but it happened through the emotions and through their actions. Now you're turned to the other, and by default now, you come under the influence of even of the mind of that person. You take on their mind, their way of thinking. See, if you've ever been around someone who has a strong personality and who you feel weak need in front of, you can't speak up to them. See, but not only that, but they seem to be able to influence your thoughts. Your mind goes blank, and then all you can think is you think what they think, or you try to figure out what they're going to think, and then respond according to what they want. Their will and their mind gets into. You see how that works? It's because you're oriented in that direction. See, it's a very subtle thing. It's hard for me to describe. But any emotion at all galvanizes your body, galvanizes you and your mind and your body towards something. And then you have turned inside. There has been a turning toward it. And that's why the emotions can make you doubt what you know in your heart. See, if you want something too much, or you get involved with a person, see, that you shouldn't be involved with, and you know, see, you intellectually you know that you shouldn't be, and so on. But the emotions are pulling you. Everything is drawing you in that direction. See, because you are turned in that direction. So how do you turn back? That's the thing. You've got to be able to turn back. Well, it starts with pulling back. Okay, it starts with wanting to do what's right. It starts with wanting to know the truth. See, it starts with wanting to live honorably and do right by people. Okay, it starts with that, and pulling back with like the help of the little meditation that I have, taking a step back. Okay, so you can look at your emotions and see them objectively in the inner light. See, if you are close to the inner light and now you're looking at your own emotions, you see something wrong with them. There they are. You can't deny them. See, no use struggling with them. That doesn't help. But at least you see, and you see there's something wrong. Or you see thoughts in your mind and you realize those are not good thoughts. Where'd they come from? See, so you're objective. You're no longer lost in the emotions and lost in the thoughts. Now you're standing back. You actually are closer to God. And incidentally, the salvation, see, of the soul, whether it goes on to perish or to not good or to be saved from the not good, hinges on belief. That's the fulcrum. That's the tipping point. And for most of your life, you have been, because of what was done to you and the tease and the challenge of the world and the cleverness of people and your own lack of commitment to what's right, see? You wanted something from the world. You wanted something from the world. And so you've been oriented toward the world. And so because of that, then you believed what the world said. You had faith in people and so on. Now, at a certain point, you have to see that that's not good. And then the soul tips back and turns back to God.